So today we're diving into a life that, well, it reads like the ultimate fairy tale.
It really does.
A script that was just flipped so dramatically from the harsh lights of the Hollywood Dream Factory to the exacting ancient grandeur of European royalty. We are, of course, talking about Grace Patricia Kelly.
The American actress who became the serene and, I think, very disciplined Princess of Monaco.
Exactly.
And when you look at her timeline, what's truly astonishing isn't just the transformation itself, but the sheer speed of it.
The speed is unbelievable.
You have this young woman who, in the early 1950s, just explodes onto the global stage. I mean, she achieves massive, undeniable stardom.
Right. Wins an Academy Award for Best Actress, sweeps the Golden Globes.
She cements herself so deeply into cinematic history that the American Film Institute later ranked her 13th among the greatest female stars. And then, at just 26 years old,
Poof. Gone. She simply walked away from it all.
she did.
She basically pressed the self-destruct button on her entire Hollywood career
To marry Prince Rainier III, yeah.
and take on this completely new role, one she kept until her tragic death in 1982. I mean, can you even think of a comparable career pivot today? It's impossible.
It's unthinkable. So our mission for you, the learner, is to really extract the essential and often contradictory knowledge about this figure.
Right, because she was both of these things at once. She was the image of this perfect, almost icy poise in Hollywood.
And then a passionate, dedicated royal consort in Monaco. You have to hold these two images in your mind simultaneously to explore the dichotomy of that life.
Absolutely. The tension between her glamorous film persona and the immense discipline required for both high-level acting and royalty is what defines her.
It really is. So we're going to trace this fascinating journey that begins not in Hollywood, but in the affluent, very strictly Catholic social scene of Philadelphia,
Then we'll follow her through the rigorous, competitive entertainment industry of New York.
all the way up to the demanding, politically nuanced role of Princess Grace of Monaco. We'll examine her surprisingly short film career lasting barely 7 years, if you can believe it.
And then the enduring impact of her philanthropic work, her revolutionary style, and of course, the foundations that still carry her name today.
So to understand the serene, composed star that we all know, we have to first understand the foundation she came from.
Because Grace Kelly was the product of a wildly ambitious, highly competitive, and tremendously influential Philadelphia family.
This is so critical. We begin on November 12th, 1929, at the Hahnemann University Hospital in Philadelphia. And you have to get this out of your head right away. That this was not a story of a struggling actress from the wrong side of the tracks.
Not at all.
The Kelly family wasn't just wealthy, they were a powerhouse, a prominent Catholic household defined by incredible, almost relentless achievement, particularly among the men of the family.
Let's talk about the patriarch, John B. Kelly Sr. I mean, this guy was a figure of just mythic ambition.
Truly.
He was the son of Irish immigrants who just clawed his way up, building this hugely successful East Coast brickwork contracting company. That's what made the Kelly family fortune.
And he believed completely in self-made success and, maybe more importantly, physical mastery.
He really did. And he proved that mastery in the most public way possible, through sport.
He won 3 Olympic gold medals for sculling.
3 of them. For sculling, which is that intense, high-endurance, single-person racing form of rowing.
Exactly. So for him, that defined success. Sheer physical and material dominance. This was a man who expected greatness and saw the world through the lens of competition.
And that ambition didn't just stay on the water or in business, did it?
No way. He plunged right into politics. He ran for mayor of Philadelphia in 1935 as the Democratic Party nominee.
And he lost, but by the closest margin in the city's history.
Right, which just reinforced his status as this major public figure. He also served on the Fairmount Park Commission and was appointed by President Roosevelt as the National Director of Physical Fitness during World War II.
So he's constantly in public life, constantly demanding perfection from himself and everyone around him.
But while he was focused on brick and brawn, the artistic gene pool on the Kelly side was equally rich.
That's a great point. Grace had 2 uncles who were already deeply established in the performing arts. Walter C. Kelly was a popular vaudeville star, made films for MGM and Paramount.
And even more significantly, her uncle, George Kelly,
The Pulitzer Prize winner.
the Pulitzer Prize-winning dramatist, screenwriter, and director. This is a crucial point for you to remember. Grace had legitimate, successful, artistic role models. right there in her immediate family circle, even though her own father kind of dismissed the profession.
Yes, and the physical environment itself reflected this success. The family home, which John B. Kelly Sr. built himself in East Falls at 3901 Henry Ave, was this massive testament to their upward mobility.
But the narrative becomes genuinely complex and I think internationally relevant when we look at the maternal side, the major lineage.
This is where we uncover a deep dive fact that connects Grace Kelly to European history long before she ever met Prince Rainier.
Her mother, Margaret Major, was of German ancestry, and she was highly accomplished herself. She taught physical education at the University of Pennsylvania.
The first woman to coach women's athletics there, right?
That's right. And she even modeled briefly. But when researchers traced her patrilineal line, her father's line, they found something remarkable.
It wasn't just working-class German ancestry. She was linked to Professor Johann Christian von Major, an 18th century political scientist and theologian.
And through him, a line of descent from several minor German noble families.
And here's the fact that truly jumps out. Through that maternal lineage, Grace Kelly was descended from the Stauffenberg family.
Yes, the very same family best known for Klaus Schenk Graf von Stauffenberg.
The German army officer who spearheaded the dramatic plot to assassinate Hitler in 1944.
It is absolutely incredible.
It adds an entirely new dimension to her story. It suggests that this American actress wasn't just marrying into aristocracy. She was, in a way, reclaiming a forgotten or, dormant European heritage.
It absolutely provided an invaluable context.
So you have to wonder, did this lineage help her transition? Did it provide a crucial ancient legitimacy to the Grimaldis and other European royals who might have otherwise viewed her as a mere Hollywood interloper?
I think it must have. While the Kelly name was purely New World money and achievement, the Major Stauffenberg lineage offered a stamp of Old World historical destiny. It meant that despite the newness of her fame, she carried connections to minor German nobility in her bloodline.
Decades before she ever arrived in Monaco.
Exactly. This probably made her acceptance by the ancient European families, who value lineage so highly, much smoother than it might have been otherwise.
So she grows up in this environment that's strict, profoundly Catholic, raised in St. Bridget's Parish, attending Ravenhill Academy, and it demanded excellence. Yet, despite this powerhouse pedigree, Grace's initial path toward the stage met with strong, immediate resistance.
Especially from her competitive father.
Right. She participated in drama and dance at the Stevens School, and she loved it so much that she listed Ingrid Bergman as her favorite actress in her yearbook.
But academics almost stopped her cold. She was rejected by Bennington College in July 1947.
Why?
Due to low mathematics scores.
That rejection, ironically, may have been the best thing that ever happened to her career.
It might have been because it left only one path open. But her father's disapproval was this constant cloud. John B. Kelly Sr. viewed acting as, and this is a quote, a slim cut above streetwalker.
Wow. Imagine the friction in that house. The Olympian, the brickwork mogul father, watching his daughter pursue what he considered such a disreputable, flimsy career.
Especially when the family already had such tangible, material success.
She was determined, though. She signed with the Walter Thornton Model Agency in 1947, taking those initial professional steps before making the decisive move to New York City to formally pursue acting training.
And that brings us to her rigorous ascent, from the gritty realities of the New York stage to her eventual Hollywood breakthrough.
Her seriousness about the craft, especially given her father's doubts, really can't be overstated. She was intent on proving herself.
She auditioned for the highly selective American Academy of Dramatic Arts, using a scene from her successful Uncle George Kelly's play, The Torchbearers.
And even though the semester quota was already met, her Uncle George's influence was clearly leveraged to get her an interview and, ultimately, admission.
He would remain a vital mentor to her, advising her on technique and career choices. But she definitely didn't coast on family connections.
Oh, no. The sources make it clear she worked diligently. She was even practicing her speech using a tape recorder, trying to hone her delivery and diction.
So she was living this immediate dual life. On one hand, high society expectations, and on the other, this grinding reality.
At her father's insistence, and this was likely driven by his concern for reputation and propriety, she lived at the strictly supervised Barbizon Hotel for women in Manhattan.
But to pay the bills and keep herself afloat in, the most expensive city in the world, she was modeling for the John Robert Powers Agency.
And this is the part of the story that just shatters the image of the sheltered, pristine debutante. She was hustling in a way that would have shocked her Philadelphia peers.
Taking survival jobs, doing commercials for, what was it, bug spray and cigarettes.
It's so hard to picture the future princess, the icon of elegance, selling Raid or Lucky Strikes. But that was the reality of the New York hustle.
And speaking of shattering the image, there's that incredible anecdote about her time at the Barbizon.
Oh, right.
Reportedly shocking fellow, much quieter residents by dancing topless to Hawaiian music down the hallways.
That one anecdote gives us a glimpse of a much freer, more bohemian side to the girl in white gloves than we usually acknowledge.
I mean, was that a necessary moment of rebellion against her strict upbringing, or just youthful indiscretion in a setting where she was finally free from her father's watchful eye?
Either way, it shows she had a wild streak that was very quickly disciplined once she reached Hollywood.
Her career was building amidst this duality. Her Broadway debut came in Strindberg's The Father, alongside Raymond Massey.
And perhaps more tellingly, her graduation performance from Adia was a major role as Tracy Lord in the Philadelphia Story.
A character she would revisit years later in her final film.
She also became a prolific staple of the nascent television world, which was just hungry for new talent. She appeared in nearly 60 live TV programs.
60. Starting with Delbert Mann's adaptation of Bethel Mereday. Her TV and stage presence led Theatre World magazine to name her a most promising personality of the Broadway stage of 1950.
However, the deep dive also notes a potential limitation that helped push her toward film.
What was that?
She was thought to lack the vocal horsepower necessary for a lengthy, commanding stage career.
Ah, okay. That realization, coupled with her growing on-screen presence, made the pivot to cinema essential for her meteoric success.
The film opportunities started small but quickly grew. Her debut was a minor role in the 20th Century Fox film 14 Hours in 1951.
And an anecdote from her co-star, Paul Douglas, immediately cemented her future persona. He noted that, quote, "In two senses, she did not have a bad side. You could film her from any angle, and she was one of the most untemperamental, cooperative people in the business."
That film debut generated immediate public interest. It led to the establishment of the Grace Kelly fan club, if you can believe it.
Even though critics largely overlooked her performance.
Right. She continued in TV and theater until 1952, when she secured her first major film role, one that put her opposite a massive star.
That was high noon.
With Gary Cooper. This was a challenging, uncomfortable shoot filmed in just 28 days in the late summer and early fall heat of Columbia, California. She played Amy Fowler Kane, the Marshal's young Quaker bride.
Critically, this role was a mixed bag, both for her and for the critics. Biographers noted that her acting here didn't excite the critics or live up to her own expectations.
Even Alfred Hitchcock, who would become her champion, later described her performance as rather mousy. He claimed she only really blossomed later. He was likely referring to a lack of confidence, or perhaps just the inexperience of acting in cinema versus the live stage. The camera demands a different kind of intensity.
And some critics had issues with the character itself. The moral ambiguity of her pacifist Quaker character saving her husband by killing a man at the climax. It seemed, to some, unnervingly cold and abstract.
But the exposure was enormous, and it led directly to the critical moment.
Director John Ford.
Yes, John Ford noticed her during a screen test for a different project, Taxi. Ford was immediately impressed, noting she showed breeding, quality, and class.
And that single observation led directly to her getting a 7-year contract with MGM.
And here is where we get into the business acumen of Grace Kelly, which is so often overshadowed by her elegance.
Okay.
The initial MGM contract was actually for a relatively low salary, $850 a week.
Which today is what, like $10,000?
Only about $10,065, yeah. But she demonstrated real leverage and control right from the start.
She was not going to be easily molded by the studio machine. She insisted on 2 key conditions, which shows her asserting her power immediately.
First, she demanded time off 1 year out of every 2 for theater work, which tells you she hadn't abandoned her stage ambitions.
And second, she insisted on being allowed to live in New York City at her Manhattan house residence rather than moving permanently to Hollywood.
That is such a fascinating move. Most starlets signing with a major studio would accept whatever terms were dictated. But Kelly was establishing control over her life and her creative pursuits.
And this assertiveness quickly led to the film that truly launched her into the major leagues, Mogambo, in 1953.
She had to replace Gene Tierney at the last minute and travel to Nairobi for the 3-month production.
And when she was asked about the appeal of this massive endeavor in Africa, Kelly's response was famously pragmatic.
Utterly lacking in any high-minded artistic pretense.
She said Mogambo had three things that interested me: John Ford, Clark Gable, and a trip to Africa with expenses paid.
An efficient assessment of professional opportunity. She played Linda Nordley, the contemplative English wife. The film was a massive box office success.
And she won a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress, securing her first Academy Award nomination. The momentum was just unstoppable after that.
Which leads us right into the intense, brief peak of her stardom between 1954 and 1956.
The crucial relationship that defined these final, highly compressed years of her acting career was with Alfred Hitchcock.
Of course.
MGM loaned her out multiple times to work with him, solidifying her status as the quintessential Hitchcock blonde. He became an essential mentor and effectively built her image.
He understood what she projected better than anyone. She wasn't the overtly passionate or, sexual bombshell that Hollywood often demanded.
She was the cool, reserved facade behind which intense passion or even danger lurked.
Their first collaboration was Dial M for Murder in 1954. She played the wealthy wife of a retired tennis player caught in a murder plot. And Hitchcock used the coolness of her demeanor perfectly.
But it was the second film that year, Rear Window, that truly defined her elegance and complexity. It created the template for the sophisticated American woman.
In Rear Window, she played Lisa Fremont, the wealthy Manhattan socialite and fashion model.
This role was transformative for her career because it marked her first performance as an independent career woman, a character with her own ambition and agency.
Not just a demure bride or distressed wife.
Exactly. And Hitchcock used her elegance masterfully, turning her into a walking display of high fashion. He emphasized her style through these slow sequence silhouettes and dramatically changing her glamorous outfits multiple times.
Showcasing everything from evening dresses to jeans, all designed to highlight her versatility and, critically, her unattainable glamour.
And this elegance resonated deeply. The critic from Variety praised the unexpected, earthy quality of her relationship with co-star James Stewart,
proving that she could convey complexity and warmth beyond that cool, composed exterior. It was a massive smash hit that cemented her as a truly global star.
The Hitchcock trifecta concluded with To Catch a Thief in 1955.
Filmed gloriously on the French Riviera.
Which, in hindsight, dramatically anticipated her future life in Monaco. Here, she played a temptress in luxurious and alluring clothes.
This film was also pivotal because it established her deep and lasting bond with co-star Cary Grant.
Grant famously adored her. He called her his favorite actress for her essential quality of serenity. She projected a calm, disciplined presence that deeply resonated with her colleagues, especially those who had navigated decades of Hollywood turmoil.
But 1954 wasn't just defined by Hitchcock's smooth glamour. It was the year of her greatest critical triumph, and it was one that required her to actively fight the studio system to get the part.
She insisted on playing Georgie Elgin, the dowdy, long-suffering wife of an alcoholic singer, played by Bing Crosby in The Country Girl.
This demonstrates her assertiveness again, pushing back against the very image the studio had cultivated for her. MGM did not want to loan their reigning glamour queen to Paramount for this deeply unglamorous role.
So what did she do?
She threatened the studio. She said she would quit Hollywood entirely and return to New York if they refused.
That threat was genuine, and it worked. MGM relented, and in the process, she secured a new, much more lucrative contract.
The risk paid off completely. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress for the role.
An upset victory over the heavy favorite, Judy Garland, for A Star is Born.
Right, and the controversy surrounding that win is still debated. Garland was immensely popular and had given a career-defining performance.
But Kelly's disciplined portrayal of a woman ravaged by emotional stress was just undeniably powerful. And her acceptance speech, famously, was brief.
Just expressing thanks from the heart, staying true to her composed nature.
And it wasn't just the Oscar. She swept the major critical awards that year, winning the New York Film Critics Circle Award and the National Board of Review for her composite work in Rear Window, Dial M for Murder, and The Country Girl.
She was unequivocally at the apex of her career, all achieved within about 5 years of getting her first speaking role in a film.
That level of intensity and productivity is just staggering. In 1954 alone, she had 4 major films released.
The three we mentioned, plus the war film The Bridges at Tokori with William Holden. She also endured the notoriously unpleasant location shoot for Green Fire in Colombia, which she personally described as awful.
She just didn't slow down until she reached the final stop.
Her final film roles in 1956 essentially bookended her career with themes of royalty and luxury. She played Princess Alexandra in The Swan, opposite Alec Guinness.
A performance that uncannily foreshadowed her real-life title change.
And then the finale, High Society, a musical remake of the Philadelphia story, bringing her full circle back to the material she performed at her acting graduation.
She played Tracy Lord opposite Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra. Variety called it possibly her most relaxed performance, as if she knew her real-life curtain call was imminent.
She simply finished the work and walked away. The retirement was abrupt, yes, but the path toward it was already being laid out in her personal life. The royal transformation happened almost immediately.
The genesis of the marriage came through her role as the head of the U.S. delegation at the Cannes Film Festival in April 1955. She was invited to nearby Monaco and met Prince Rainier III on May 6, 1955.
For what was intended to be a simple photo session at the prince's palace.
Their courtship was not a tempestuous, sudden romance. It was described as containing a good deal of rational appraisal on both sides,
which suggests a thoughtful, calculated decision rather than a whirlwind of passion. But it was certainly fast.
It culminated in their marriage less than a year later, on April 19, 1956.
And the wedding itself was a global sensation, an event that instantly redefined media coverage. It was described by one biographer as the first modern event to generate media overkill.
An estimated 30 million viewers watched the religious ceremony on television.
A remarkable feat for 1956, and the logistics were absolutely complex. They revealed the gravity of the transformation she was undergoing.
Because of the Napoleonic Code governing Monaco's laws and the requirements of the Catholic Church, they needed two ceremonies.
The civil ceremony took place on April 18th in the palace throne room. It lasted only 16 minutes.
16 minutes, during which her 132 official titles, the feminine counterparts to her husband's ancient titles, were formally recited.
Think about that transition for a moment. From the gritty reality of bug spray commercials to acquiring 142 noble titles in less than half an hour. That is the sheer weight of the life she chose.
The religious ceremony followed the next day at St. Nicholas Cathedral. And of course, the wedding dress itself became an icon.
A piece of costuming that rivaled any film design. MGM's Helen Rose created the elaborate gown, which required 6 weeks and 36 dressmakers to complete. It was the centerpiece of a meticulously managed global fairy tale.
Once married, the priority shifted entirely. She immediately discontinued her acting career, which was a mandatory sacrifice for the crown.
And she wholeheartedly embraced her new duties as Princess of Monaco and the raising of their family.
They had 3 children quickly. Princess Caroline, born in 1957, the heir, Prince Albert, in 1958, and Princess Stephanie in 1965.
And notably, despite the political demands of her new home, she retained her American ties, maintaining dual U.S. and Monegasque citizenship throughout her life.
Her commitment to her adopted home extended far beyond social appearances. Her primary focus immediately turned to philanthropy. She became the president of the Red Cross of Monaco, using her massive international fame to generate unprecedented support.
She was also a patron of the Rainbow Coalition Children, an orphanage run by the legendary American performer Josephine Baker.
Which is such a cool way of bridging her two worlds.
But her most powerful and lasting humanitarian legacy is Amade Mondial, which she founded in 1963.
This was founded after she witnessed the plight of Vietnamese children, showing the global scope of her ambition once she traded the Hollywood stage for the world stage.
And this wasn't just a local royal charity. Amade Mondial is a UN-recognized nonprofit dedicated to promoting and protecting the moral and physical integrity and spiritual well-being of children throughout the world.
It has consultative status with UNICEF and UNESCO and cooperative branches spanning Europe, Asia, South America, and Africa. That is a global footprint, testament to her dedication and organizational skills.
Beyond children's rights, she was instrumental in boosting Monaco's cultural profile and economic standing. Let's not forget the political context here.
Right.
Rainier needed this marriage desperately. Monaco was under intense pressure from France regarding taxation and sovereignty. Grace Kelly's global fame provided an immediate, massive economic boost through tourism.
And instantly legitimized the tiny principality on the world stage. She was a diplomatic asset whose star power was worth millions.
And she definitely used that power strategically. She established the Princess Grace Foundation in 1964 to support local artisans, and later became an advocate for preserving Monaco's historic Belle Époque-era architecture.
She channeled her American influence into the palace, hosting a yearly American Week in Monaco, complete with baseball games and ice cream, and ensuring the palace celebrated American Thanksgiving annually.
There are also these fascinating details about her surprisingly modern health advocacy.
Oh, yeah.
She was a strong vocal advocate of breastfeeding. She became an honorary member and speaker at a 1971 Le Leche League conference in Chicago.
And she successfully breastfed all three of her children, which was a relatively modern stance for a royal at that time.
However, this crown came with a heavy, specific cost: the permanent suppression of her artistic ambitions.
And this is arguably the most poignant what-if in her entire life story.
The great what-if, of course, centers on Alfred Hitchcock. He offered her the lead in his psychological thriller Marnie in 1962.
She was reportedly eager to take the part, and a temporary return to Hollywood would have electrified the film world.
But the public outcry in Monaco was immediate and fierce. They were outraged at the prospect of their princess, their perfect image of Monegasque royalty, playing a kleptomaniac.
And that forced her to reject the project.
That decision likely changed the course of her entire royal life. It solidified the image that royalty was fundamentally incompatible with the complex, emotionally challenging, and sometimes morally ambiguous roles she excelled at in Hollywood.
It was a clear line drawn by the political demands of her adopted country. And it wasn't an isolated incident. Director Herbert Ross tried to cast her in his 1977 film The Turning Point.
A major project.
A huge project. But Prince Rainier dismissed the idea outright. The door to her first career was effectively slammed shut, leaving her to channel her creative energy elsewhere.
She did manage some limited returns to the arts through non-performing roles. She served on the board of the 20th Century Fox Film Corporation starting in 1976.
Becoming one of its first female members.
She also lent her voice to narration, including the documentary The Children of Theater Street in 1977, and the TV film The Poppy is Also a Flower in 1966.
And she channeled her visual artistic energies into other creative pursuits entirely. In 1980, she published My Book of Flowers.
Right, detailing her floral aesthetics, the symbolism of flowers, and her impressive collage work. She was finding ways to express that creative discipline she had honed at ADA.
And she even collaborated with Rainier on a 33-minute independent film called Rearranged in 1979, an attempt to bridge the gap.
But tragically, that film never saw a wide public release. ABC TV executives were interested in extending it to an hour after its Monaco premieres in 1982, but her death interrupted those plans.
It's also worth noting her successful commercial collaboration in the early 1980s with the Spring Maid Company, creating a luxury linen brand titled GPK after her maiden name initials.
This wasn't for personal profit, though. She reportedly donated the over $1 million she earned in royalties directly to her foundations and charities.
Proving her commitment to fundraising was paramount.
And this brings us to the tragic and deeply controversial final chapter: her sudden death and the enduring legacy she left behind.
The fatal incident occurred on September 13, 1982. She was driving back to Monaco from the family country home in Rock Eagle. She was driving a 1972 Rover P6 3500 on that steep, winding mountain road.
The official sequence of events points to a medical emergency. She suffered a mild cerebral hemorrhage while driving, which caused her to lose control of the car.
The Rover plunged 100 feet down the mountainside, an immediate catastrophe.
Her youngest daughter, Princess Stephanie, was in the passenger seat. In a tragic and terrifying detail, Stephanie reportedly tried unsuccessfully to regain control of the vehicle during the descent.
Grace was rushed to Monaco Hospital, which would later be renamed the Princess Grace Hospital Center.
There was initial hope for recovery, but she suffered a second, more severe hemorrhage at the hospital and was declared brain dead. Prince Rainier made the agonizing decision to turn off life support.
And she died the following night, September 14th, at the age of 52.
The immediate aftermath was clouded by controversy. The palace press office initially issued a statement blaming the crash on brake failure, a seemingly definitive cause.
However, police investigators and rover engineers from Britain conducted a thorough inquiry and found absolutely no evidence of brake malfunction.
That forced the palace to publicly retract the claim. The subsequent inquiry pointed to a combination of the medical event plus a technical oversight on a treacherous road.
Right. The engineers noted she had kept the car in standard drive mode while descending the mountain rather than engaging the mountain safety gear installed by Rover.
This is a terrifying and critical detail that needs explaining. So for you, the learner, in a car with this type of transmission, standard mode relies primarily on the brakes to govern speed.
which can quickly overheat and fail on steep, prolonged descents. The mountain safety gear, however, uses engine compression to safely govern speed, protecting the brakes.
So this suggests the tragedy was a perfect storm, an unforeseen medical event combined with a technical procedure missed in a moment of crisis.
Contradicting the initial claims of mechanical failure.
Her funeral was held on September 18th, 1982, at the Cathedral of Our Lady Immaculate. It was an event attended by major figures from both her worlds.
Cary Grant represented Hollywood, while Nancy Reagan and Diana, Princess of Wales, represented global political and royal circles.
A heartbreaking absence, however, was her youngest daughter, Stephanie. She was unable to attend due to a light concussion and a hairline fracture of a cervical vertebra sustained in the crash.
And Rainier, devastated by the loss, never remarried. He was buried alongside her in the Grimaldi family vault after his death in 2005.
Despite the dramatic and tragic end, her legacy far outlived her 7 years in Hollywood and her 26 years in Monaco. She remains cited as one of the most elegant women in history.
The epitome of the classic Hitchcock blonde.
Time magazine in 1955 famously hailed her as the girl in white gloves, noting that she represented a startling change from the run of smoky film sirens and bumptious cuties.
She introduced a new ideal of beauty, the fresh-faced look, bright skin, natural beauty, and minimal makeup. It was a complete departure from the prevailing Marilyn Monroe or Ava Gardner mold. She redefined American sophistication.
And the most enduring, tangible legacy of her style is a handbag that became synonymous with her name.
The Kelly bag. While pregnant with Princess Caroline in 1956, she was photographed repeatedly using a distinctive Hermès Sac à Dépêche handbag.
And the reason wasn't purely fashion. She was using it, quite pragmatically, to shield her pregnant abdomen from the aggressive paparazzi who were constantly hounding her.
The photographs instantly popularized the purse, and it was eventually renamed the Kelly bag. It's a perfect illustration of how her necessity and natural, unforced elegance became global fashion standards.
It elevated a functional item into an unattainable symbol of high style. She was rightly inaugurated into the International Best Dressed List Hall of Fame in 1960.
Her legacy is actively preserved by the foundation she inspired. The Princess Grace Foundation USA was established by Rainier in 1984 to continue her charitable work.
Specifically supporting emerging American artists in film, theater, and dance, a direct continuation of the career she was forced to abandon.
The PGF USA has awarded over $15 million and holds the exclusive rights and facilitates the licensing of her name and likeness globally, ensuring her brand remains controlled and utilized for philanthropic ends.
And her daughter, Princess Caroline, took over as president for both the PGF USA and Amade Mondiale, ensuring continuity.
Monaco continues to honor her memory extensively. They established the Princess Grace Rose Garden in Fontvale and the Princess Grace Irish Library, which contains her personal collection of over 9,000 books.
Reflecting her heritage and her love of literature, Avenue Princess Grace in Monaco is famously dubbed the most expensive street in the world.
And in a wonderfully symbolic gesture that brings her life story full circle, her son, Prince Albert of Monaco, purchased her childhood home in East Falls, Philadelphia.
The very home built by John B. Kelly Sr., where Rainier proposed in 1955.
That house, which her father saw as the unsuitable launch pad for a respectable woman, is now a historic monument owned by her royal son, potentially destined for museum space or foundation offices.
The ultimate transformation is complete, connecting the brickwork mogul's dream back to the Grimaldi dynasty.
So let's synthesize this remarkable dual career for you, the learner. She had a Hollywood run that lasted barely 7 years, but was immensely impactful.
An Oscar, 3 defining collaborations with Hitchcock, and global cultural recognition.
This was followed by 26 years dedicated entirely to her role as princess, focused on humanitarian work, the arts, and raising her children, all while managing the political intricacies of a monarchy under pressure.
She successfully navigated one of the most dramatic life changes imaginable. She managed the demands of high American celebrity with the ancient, strict traditions of European royalty.
She leveraged her fame to boost her adopted home economically and culturally, maintained her American ties, and left behind powerful, active foundations that continue her work globally.
We've uncovered so many surprising details, from her youthful rebellion and modeling for bug spray, to ancient German noble connections via the Stauffenberg lineage, and the terrifying, nuanced technical cause of her tragic final accident.
It forces you to look beyond the serene, white-gloved image and recognize the steely ambition and dedication beneath that perfect exterior.
She was a woman who leveraged a screen test into an MGM contract, and then leveraged that contract into an Oscar and a global dynasty, all while maintaining her own terms whenever possible.
Which brings us back to our final provocative thought for you, the learner.
The source material highlights the tragic loss of potential roles due to the strictures of royalty, particularly the definitive rejection of Hitchcock's Marnie in 1962 based on that public outcry.
Right, the outcry against their princess playing a kleptomaniac.
This raises a powerful historical hypothetical. If she had been accepted into Marnie and the public outcry had been ignored, perhaps if Rainier had insisted the role was purely art and her duty was separate.
How might that single decision have altered not just her acting legacy, but the entire perception of Princess Grace in Monaco and the world?
Would it have shown a more modern, permissive monarchy, or would it have irreparably damaged the fragile balance she maintained between the Hollywood myth and her royal duty?
It is a fascinating question of duty versus artistic necessity. She remains fiercely contemporary decades later, precisely because of those foundations, that style, and that perfect, impossibly brief Hollywood career.
Something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.